Hi everybody and welcome to Linux Fundamentals Part 2. Let's begin. Welcome to the second part of the Rework Linux Fundamental series. We'll be applying our knowledge from the first installment in this series, so I highly recommend you completing that room before proceeding further. In Part 2, we'll be ditching the in-browser functionality and help you get started in what is a fundamental skill in being able to log into and control the terminals of remote machines. Not only this, but the room will also have you unlocking the potential of your first few commands by introducing you to using flags and arguments, advancing your knowledge of the file system to perform some more useful commands such as copying and moving files, introducing you to the access mechanisms in place to keep files and folders secure, and how to identify the things that our current user has access to, and running your first few scripts and executables. Okay, now let's click on completed and move on to the next task, which is accessing your Linux machine using SSH. The in-browser functionality was used in Linux Fundamentals Part 1 to get you directly connected to your first ever Linux machine without any hassle. In fact, the in-browser functionality uses the exact same protocol that we are going to be using today. This protocol is called Secure Shell, or SSH for short, and is the common means of connecting to and interacting with the command line of a remote Linux machine. We will be deploying two machines in this room, your Linux machine and the TryHackMe attack box. What is SSH and how does it work? Secure Shell, or SSH, simply is a protocol between devices in an encrypted form. Using cryptography, any input we send in a human-readable format is encrypted for traveling over a network, where it is then unencrypted once it reaches the remote machine, such as in the diagram below. Okay, you can learn about the various types of encryption on a TryHackMe room. But for now, we only need to understand that SSH allows us to remotely execute commands on another device remotely, and any data sent between the devices is encrypted when it is sent over a network such as the internet. Deploying your Linux machine. Press the green Start Machine button on the top right of this task and then scroll to the top of the page to see the deployment information like so. Okay, the IP address displayed is the address of your Linux machine that you will be logging into using SSH. Take note of this for now. Deploying the TryHackMe attack box. Looking at the top of the page, press the Start Attack Box button to deploy the TryHackMe attack box that we will be interacting with. The TryHackMe attack box is a Ubuntu Linux machine that is hosted online in the cloud and can be interacted with via your browser. You will be using this to interact with the machine that you deploy in this task. Using SSH to log in to your Linux machine. The syntax to use SSH is very simple. We only need to provide two things. First, the IP address of the remote machine, and second, correct credentials to a valid account to log in with on the remote machine. For this room, we will be logging in as TryHackMe, whose password is TryHackMe without the quotation marks. Let's use the IP address of the machine displayed in the card at the top of the room as the IP address and this user to construct a command to log into the remote machine using SSH. The command to do so is SSH and then the username of the account at the IP address of the machine. But first, we need to open a terminal on the TryHackMe attack box. There is an icon placed on the desktop named Terminal. And now we can proceed to input commands. For example, SSH TryHackMe at, and then we type in the IP address for our Linux target machine. Once executed, we will then be asked to trust the host and then provide a password for the TryHackMe account, which is also TryHackMe. Now that we are connected, any commands that we execute, we will now execute on the remote machine, not our own. Note, when you type a password into an SSH login prompt, there is no visible feedback. You will not be able to see any text or symbols appear as you type the password. It is still working, however, so just type the password and press enter to log in. And now let's answer the questions, or no, there's no questions here, but let's see. Let's log in into the Linux Fundamentals Part 2 machine using SSH. Okay, so we click on Start Machine and Start Attack Box, and we wait a few moments. Let's see. Let's press enter here and open the terminal. And let's type in the command so that we can, log into the Linux Fundamentals Part 2 machine using SSH, of course. So the command for that is SSH and then TryHackMe and then we need the IP address of the remote machine that we deployed. This is the IP address right here, which we can also see right here. Okay, so 10. And then we press enter and then type yes. And then we type in the password, which is TryHackMe, enter. And we are now officially logged into the remote machine using SSH. Perfect. Okay, let's click on completed and continue to the next task, which is introduction to flags and switches. A majority of commands allow for arguments to be provided. The arguments are identified by a hyphen and a certain keyword known as flags or switches. We will later discuss how we can identify what commands allow for arguments to be provided and understanding what these do exactly. When using a command, unless otherwise specified, it will perform its default behavior. For example, the ls command lists the contents of the working directory. However, hidden files are not shown. We can use flags and switches to extend the behavior of commands. Using our ls command example, ls informs us that there is only one folder named folder1 as highlighted in the screenshot below. Note that the contents in the screenshots below are only examples. However, after using the -a argument, short for --all, we now suddenly have an output with a few more files and folders such as .hidden folder. Files and folders with period in front of their name are hidden files. Commands that accept these will also have a --help option. This option will list the possible options that the command accepts, provide a brief description and example of how to use it. This option is in fact a formatted output of what is called the man page, short for manual, which contains documentation for Linux commands and applications. The manual page. The manual pages are a great source of information for both system commands and applications available on both a Linux machine, which is accessible on the machine itself and online. To access this documentation, we can use the man command and then provide the command we want to read the documentation for. Using our ls example, we would use man ls to view the manual pages for the ls command like we see in the example below. And now let's answer the questions. Well, first we don't have a question, but we are asked to explore the manual page of the ls command. Okay, let's do that. So we type in man and then ls and then press enter. And there you go. Okay, now let's answer the first question. So what directional arrow key would we use to navigate down the manual page? And that will be the down arrow key, but let's give that a try first. So, yep, that's correct. So let's type in down and submit. Okay, and what flag would we use to display the output in a human readable way? And that will be the -h flag that we can find right here. Let's see, there you go. Right, so let's type in dash and then h and submit and move on to the next task, which is file system interaction continued. We covered some of the most fundamental commands when interacting with the file system on the Linux machine. For example, we covered how to list and find the contents of folders using ls and find, and navigating the file system using cd. In this task, we're going to learn some more commands for interacting with the file system to allow us to create files and folders, move files and folders, and delete files and folders. More specifically, the following commands. Okay, the first command is the touch command, which we use to create a file. Then we have the make directory command to create a folder. Then we have the copy command to copy a file or folder. Then we have the move command to move a file or a folder. Then the remove command to remove a file or folder. And then the file command to determine the type of a file. Creating files and folders. Creating files and folders on Linux is a simple process. First, we'll cover creating a file. The touch command takes exactly one argument, the name we want to give the file we create. For example, we can create the file note by using touch note. It's worth noting that touch simply creates a blank file. You will need to use commands like echo or text editors such as nano to add content to the blank file. This is a similar process for making a folder, which just involves using the make directory command and again providing the name that we want to assign to the directory. For example, creating the directory my directory using the make directory command followed by the name of the directory, which is my directory, right? That you would like to create. Removing files and folders. The rm command is extraordinary out of the commands that we've covered so far. You can simply remove files by using rm. However, you need to provide the -R switch alongside the name of the directory you wish to remove. Copying and moving files and folders. Copying and moving files is an important functionality on a Linux machine. Starting with the cp command, this command takes two arguments, the name of the existing file and the name we wish to assign to the new file when copying. The cp command copies the entire contents of the existing file into the new file. In the screenshot below, we're copying note to note 2. Moving a file takes two arguments, just like the cp command. However, rather than copying and/or creating a new file, the move command will merge or modify the second file that we provide as an argument. Not only can you use the move command to move a file to a new folder, but you can also use the move command to rename a file or folder. For example, in the screenshot below, we are renaming the file note2 to be named note 3. Note 3 will now have the contents of note 2. Determining file type. What is often misleading and often catches people out is making presumptions from files as to what their purpose or contents may be. Files usually have what's known as an extension to make this easier. For example, text files usually have an extension of .txt, but this is not necessary. So far, the files we have used in our examples haven't had an extension. Without knowing the context of why the file is there, we don't really know its purpose. Enter the file command. This command takes one argument. For example, we'll use the file command to confirm whether or not the note file in our examples is indeed a text file, and we do it like so, by typing file, the command file, right, followed by the name of the file, which is note. And now let's answer the questions. How would you create the file named new note? That's very easy. That is just by using the touch command. So we type in touch and then the file of the name, or the file of the, the name of the file that we would like to create, right? So the file that we would like to create is a new note. So that's why we're going to type in new note. Okay, and then we submit. Okay, on the deployable machine, what is the file type of unknown1 in TryHackMe's home directory? Okay, let's find out. So first, let's click on, press on Q to quit, and to quit the manual page for the ls command. And First, let's just list the files inside the TryHackMe's home directory by using the ls command. So there you go, and here are the files inside that directory. Okay, and now let's find out what type of file the unknown one file is by typing file and then unknown one. Oops, my bad. Let's try again. Unknown one, like this, and we press enter. And the answer is it's an ASCII text file. So let's type that in like this, and we submit. And now, how would we move the file, my file, to the directory my folder? Well, that's pretty easy. We are just going to use the move command. So we type in move, or mv, I'm sorry, and then the name of the file that we would like to move, so my file, and the directory where we would like to, move the file, which is my folder, right? So we type in my folder like this, and we submit, and we are correct once again. And what are the contents of this file? Well, that's pretty easy to find out. So what we need to do here is just use the cat command. So we type in cat and then the name of the file, so my file, and we press enter, and here we have the contents, a flag, right, which we're going to use to answer the question. So we type that in, or we paste it in, my bad, and then we submit. And now let's see here. Continue to apply your knowledge and practice the commands from this task. Okay, no problem. Let's just do it real quick so that we don't waste too much time of the video. So let's begin with the by creating a file. So let's create a file called file1. So we use the touch command. So touch file1. And now we have a new file in the in TryHackMe's home directory. And let's actually see that by using the ls command. See if we were successful. Yes, there we have the file that I just created. And now let's add some content to the file, some text. Okay, so for that we are going to use the echo command. And let's say that we have a text that says, "Hi there." Okay. And then we need the appending operator. So there you go, like this. And of course, the name of the file, which will be file1. Okay, and we press enter. And now let's see if we were able to add that text to file1. And for that, we're going to use the cat command. So cat file1, enter, and there you go. Now we have a text inside file1 that says "Hi there." Okay, now let's create a new directory, and for that we are going to use the make directory command. So mkdir, and then we would like to name the new directory, let's say new folder, and let's press enter and use the ls command again and see if we were successful. Yes, here it is. Here is the new directory. Okay, now let's copy a file. So let's copy file1 and make a copy of file1 that we are going to and we're going to call the file that we copy, or the new file that we are well, I lost my train of thought. So let's copy file1, and the new file that we are going to get is let's call it file2. Okay, so for that we are going to use the copy command, of course. So we type in cp and then file1, and we would like to call the new file, the copy of file1, we would like to call it file2. So we type in file2 and we press enter. And now let's use the ls command again and see if we were successful. Yes, here we have file 2 right now, and let's see if it actually is a copy of file 1. And for that, we are going to use the cat command to see the contents of file 2. So file 2, yep, the exact same contents. Okay, so the text hide there, right? Okay, now let's rename a file. So let's rename file 2 and call it file 3. For that, we are going to use the move command. So we type in mv and then file 2, and we would like to call it file 3. Okay, and we press enter, and let's see if we were successful. So let's type in ls, and there you go, file 3, and no file 2 to be found here, right? So we were successful. Perfect. Now let's rename a folder. So let's rename new folder, for example. Again, we're going to use the move command. So we type in mv and then the name of the folder that we would like to rename. So new folder, and we would like to give it the name newer folder, for example, newer folder, and we press enter and ls. And there you go, newer folder. Okay, now let's move a file to a folder. Okay, so let's move file 3 to newer folder. Okay, for that we are going to use the move command again. So mv and then the name of the file that we would like to move, and then the directory or folder where we would like to move the file to. So newer folder, and we press enter, and let's see if the file was moved. So let's first type in ls. Okay, so we no longer see the file called file 3 here, right? Okay, so we were probably successful, but let's double check. Okay, so let's go inside or navigate to newer folder and just confirm that the file is actually there. Okay, for that we're going to use the cd command. So cd, and then we type in newer folder, enter. Okay, and use the ls command, and there is our file 3, right? Perfect. Now let's move back to the TryHackMe's home directory. So we type in cd space and dash and enter. Okay, and now let's see what else can we do. Okay, let's determine a file type. Okay, for that we are going to use the file command, and let's determine what type of file 1 is. Okay, so for that we're going to type in file and then the name of the file, file 1, and enter. Okay, and here we have what we see here is that the file is an ASCII text file. Okay, and now let's see, what else can I do? Let's remove a file. Okay, so let's use the remove command. So we type in rm, and then let's say that we would like to remove file 1. So we type the name of the file, so file 1, and we press enter. And now let's list the contents of TryHackMe's home directory and see if the file is gone. Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. And let's, you know what? And let's also remove the directory that we created. So let's remove newer folder, and for that again we are going to use the remove command, but we are also going to add the dash capital R switch to be able to do that, and then we're going to type in the name of the directory that we would like to remove. So that will be newer folder, like this, and we press enter. And now again let's use the ls command and see the contents of TryHackMe's home directory and see if we were able to remove the directory or the folder too, right? Just like we were able to do with the file. Yes, so the new folder newer folder directory is now removed. Okay, so both the file 1 and newer folder is now gone. Okay, perfect. I don't know if I went way too fast, but as I said, I wanted to try out everything and not waste too much time. But if something was, it was not clear enough because I was, I was talking too fast, maybe, just tell me in the comment section, and of course I will try to explain again, okay? But I'm pretty sure that you guys get what I did, okay? So let's just click on completed and move on to the next task, which is permissions 101. As you would have already found out by now, certain users cannot access certain files or folders. We've previously explored some commands that can be used to determine what access we have and where it leads us. In our previous tasks, we learned how to extend the use of commands through flags and switches. Take, for example, the ls command, which lists the contents of the current directory. When using the -l switch, we can see 10 columns such as in the screenshot below. However, we're only interested in the first 3 columns. Although intimidating, these 3 columns are very important in determining certain characteristics of a file or folder and whether or not we have access to it. A file or folder can have a couple of characteristics that determine both what actions are allowed and what user or group has the ability to perform the given action, such as the following: read, write, and execute. Let's use the smnatic.pem file in our initial screenshot at the top of this task. It has the dash indicator highlighting that it is a file and then RW followed after. This means that only the owner of the file can read and write to this smnatic.pem file but cannot execute it. Briefly, the differences between users and groups. We briefly explored this in Linux Fundamentals Part 1, namely the differences between a regular user and a system user. The great thing about Linux is that permissions can be so granular that whilst a user technically owns a file, if the permissions have been set, then a group of users can also have either the same or a different set of permissions to the exact same file without affecting the file owner itself. Let's put this into a real-world context. The system user that runs a web server must have permissions to read and write files for an effective web application. However, companies such as web hosting companies will have to want to allow their customers to upload their own files for their website without being the web server system user, compromising the security of every other customer. We'll learn the commands necessary to switch between users below. Switching between users. Switching between users on a Linux install is easy work thanks to the su command. Unless you are the root user or using root permissions through sudo, then you are required to know 2 things to facilitate this transition of user accounts: the user we wish to switch to and the user's password. The su command takes a couple of switches that may be of relevance to you. For example, executing a command once you log in or specifying a specific shell to use. I encourage you to read the man page for su to find out more. However, I will cover the -l or --login switch. Simply by providing the L switch to su, we start a shell that is much more similar to the actual user logging into the system. We inherit a lot more properties of the new user, that is environment variables and the likes. For example, when using su to switch to user 2, our new session drops us into our previous user's home directory, where now, after using the -l switch, our new session has dropped us into the home directory of user automatically. And now let's answer the questions. So, on the deployable machine, who is the owner of important? Okay, let's find out. So, for that, we are just going to type in ls and then -l, right? So we're using the -l switch, okay? So let's press enter. And we can see that the owner of important is user2. Okay, so let's type that in, user2, and we submit. Perfect. What would the command be to switch to the user user2? And that will be su, and then user2. And we submit. Perfect. Now switch to this user2, using the password user2. Okay, no problem. So we go inside here and then we type su and then user2, and then we press enter, and then we type in the password, which is again user2, and we press enter, and there you go. Okay, so we can click on completed here and then output the contents of important. What is the flag? Okay, that's pretty easy. We're going to use the cat command and then type in the name of the file, which is important, right? And then press enter, and the contents that we get are, is just a flag, okay, which we are going to use to answer the question. Okay, so we copy the flag and then we paste it right here and we submit. And now we can move on to the next task, which is common directories. Okay, first we have the etc root directory. This root directory is one of the most important root directories on your system. The etc folder, short for etc., is a commonplace location to store system files that are used by your operating system. For example, the sudoers file highlighted in the screenshot below contains a list of the users and groups that have permission to run sudo or a set of commands as the root user. Also highlighted below are the passwd and shadow files. These two files are special for Linux as they show how your system stores the passwords for each user in encrypted formatting called SHA-512. The var directory. The var directory, with var being short for variable data, is one of the main root folders found on a Linux install. This folder stores data that is frequently accessed or written by services or applications running on the system. For example, log files from running services and applications are written here, or other data that is not necessarily associated with a specific user, that is databases and the like. The root directory. Unlike the home directory, the root folder is actually the home for the root system user. There isn't anything more to this folder other than just understanding that this is the home directory for the root user. But it is worth a mention, as the logical presumption is that this user would have their data in a directory such as the one that we see right here by default. And then we have the temporary directory. This is a unique root directory found on a Linux install. Short for temporary, the temporary directory is volatile and is used to store data that is only needed to be accessed once or twice. Similar to the memory on your computer, once the computer is restarted, the contents of this folder are cleared out. What's useful for us in pen testing is that end user can write to this folder by default, meaning once we have access to a machine, it serves as a good place to store things like our enumeration scripts. And now let's answer the questions. Okay, so no question here. We can just click on completed. What is the directory path that we would expect logs to be stored in? And that will be / oops, my bad, / like this, and then var, and then / again, and log. Okay, and then we submit. Okay, we are correct. And now, what root directory is similar to how RAM on a computer works? And that will be / tmp, right? The temporary directory. Okay, so we click on submit, and now name the home directory of the root user, and that will be / root, right? So we submit, and we are correct again. Now apply your learning and navigate through these directories on the deployed Linux machine. Okay, let's just quickly navigate to a couple of them and see the contents of these directories. Okay, so let's just let's begin with the etc directory. So we type in cd / etc, and then we press enter, and then we type in ls, and here we have the contents. Okay, and let's just do another one. So let's do the temporary directory. So cd/tmp, enter, and ls, and here we go. Here are the contents of the temporary directory. Okay. Okay, now let's click on completed and move on to the next task, which is conclusions and summaries. Nice work! This room was quite theory heavy and covered quite a range of the fundamentals in getting you familiar with Linux. To quickly recap, this room taught you how to connect to a Linux machine remotely using SSH, advancing your use of commands by providing flags, switches, and where you can go to learn about these for each command, man pages, some more commands that you frequently be using to interact with the file system and its contents, a brief introduction to file permissions and switching users, and a summary paragraph of the important root directories on a Ubuntu Linux install and how we may be able to use the data stored within these. I encourage you to go through this room again once or twice to gain some familiarity with the concepts. After all, practice makes perfect. Okay, let's click on completed. And, okay, terminate the machine from task 2. Okay, no problem. And here we can just log out like this. I'm sorry, exit like this, and then log out. And we terminate here too, like this, and we click on complete it, and then we click on complete it here. And let's see, something I forgot something. Yes, I have to answer something here. What did I answer wrong? Okay, I didn't. I forgot to click on completed here. Okay, so now we are done with this room. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more videos on TryHackMe. Okay, everybody, talk to you next time.